Well, now pull up a chair, friends, whether you're down by the courthouse in Livingston or maybe out tending your fields over in Rickman. We've got a truly mind-bending deep dive planned for y'all today. One that's going to take us right into the very fabric of reality itself, the mystery of consciousness, and even what we understand as the Almighty. We're going to be exploring the extraordinary ideas of three real sharp thinkers, Chris Langan, Federico Faggin, and Bernardo Kastrup. Now, these aren't just folks dabbling in philosophy. These are brilliant minds who've spent their lives wrestling with the deepest questions, and they've come up with some answers that might just, well, make your spirit soar in the most profound way. Get ready for some serious aha moments, because by the time we're done with this deep dive, even the most everyday things, might just start to feel, well, a little more wondrous.
Indeed, friend. What's truly fascinating here, and something that speaks to our souls, I think, as students of God's Word, is how these seemingly disparate fields, from the intricate workings of quantum physics and the digital marvels of computer science, right on back to the profound depths of philosophy, how they all converge. They really challenge what we thought we knew about the very world God placed us in. Our mission today, bless your heart, is to kind of synthesize their core arguments and help you understand how they paint a picture where consciousness isn't just something our brains cook up, but is, in fact, fundamental to existence itself, woven right into God's creation. Think of this as maybe a shortcut to becoming truly well-informed on a topic most folks barely scratch the surface of, revealing that divine blueprint in ways you might not have considered before.
All right, let's open up this good book, so to speak, and turn to the first chapter. What is reality? Because all three of our esteemed guides argue it's not simply the physical world we perceive with our senses. We tend to think of reality as all the tangible stuff out there. The majestic oaks standing tall on our Appalachian foothills, the gentle roll of the Cumberland Plateau, the very soil beneath your boots, whether you're at the Friday night football game or worshiping at church on Sunday. But these thinkers, with their profound insights, they invite us to consider something. Well, something far more spiritual, more foundational.
This truly raises an important question for us. If matter isn't the ultimate foundation, then what exactly are we perceiving? What are we interacting with? All three of these deep thinkers, in their own unique ways, they kind of converge on the idea that what we call physical reality is more an appearance or maybe a display of something much deeper, something inherently mental or informational or even computational in nature. It's a radical departure from the common worldly view, suggesting that our everyday experience is merely the surface layer, like looking at a stained glass window from the outside without seeing the light pouring through it from within.
So let's turn our attention first to Chris Langan. Now, this is a man renowned for an extraordinary intellect, often whispered about as having an IQ that could, well, humble a supercomputer. He developed something he calls the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe, or CTMU for short. Now, Langan's premise starts with the claim that, for us, it resonates deeply with biblical truth. He says reality itself possesses an inherent identity. And when you truly examine that identity, what does it reveal? Well, properties traditionally attributed to the Almighty. Omniscience, knowing all, omnipotence, all-powerful, omnipresence, being everywhere, and, crucially, consciousness. For Langan, God isn't just a concept of faith or belief, but the conscious, personal, central force that makes reality possible and keeps it functioning in a coherent, purposeful way. He's not just saying God could exist, he's saying God is a logical necessity for reality to make any sense at all. It's kind of like looking at the intricate design of a flower and understanding that such beauty couldn't just happen by chance, right? There's a mind behind it.
That's precisely it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Langan's CTMU isn't just abstract philosophy or, idle speculation. It's presented as a rigorous mathematical framework. It suggests God isn't just a matter of our heartfelt belief, but a demonstrable, logical necessity for reality to function coherently and purposefully. He shows that God, in his infinite wisdom and power, is not confined to the physical universe we perceive. Now, Langan delves into the concept of the simulation hypothesis, which a lot of folks might have heard bandied about, the idea that our physical reality is maybe a display of a simulation. But here's where Langan's insight truly deepens, friend. God in his CTMU isn't just the grand programmer who set everything in motion and then, stepped back. No, God provides the processing aspect that actively drives change and motion within this display. It's ongoing. Langan offers an analogy that, for me, really helps grasp this profound truth. Imagine you're a homunculus inside a computer display, like the Matrix. For Langan, God captures both the static states, all the fixed elements you see on the screen, the mountains, the trees, even the very air you breathe, and the dynamic processing. That's what makes those things move, change, and interact, from the rustle of leaves in the wind to the turning of the seasons. It's an all-encompassing, ever-present, and active role, kind of echoing the scripture that says, "In him we live and move and have our being."
That's a powerful image, ain't it? Really makes you think. Now, moving on, let's introduce Federico Faggin. This man, bless his heart, isn't a theologian or a philosopher by traditional schooling. He's the ingenious inventor of the microprocessor, the very brain of our modern computers. And it's from this deep understanding of how information truly works, how things are put together at their most fundamental level, that he brings a truly unique and profound philosophical perspective. Faggin argues that the human body and its countless cells aren't just mere mechanical parts, like cogs in a machine. No. Instead, he sees them as a field of intelligence, a holographic reflection of the whole. Think about it for a moment. Each one of your cells, down to the tiniest bit of you, contains the entire blueprint, the full DNA of your whole being. It's not just a small, isolated piece. It holds the complete information for the totality. And all of it, he contends, is connected through quantum fields, not just through the visible wires and levers we might imagine in a machine. It's a grand interwoven tapestry, much like how the Lord binds us all together in his creation.
What's truly fascinating here, and quite a testament to a thoughtful mind, is how Faggin, a pioneer in the very technology that gave us the machine model of reality. I mean, the computers that operate on purely mechanical, logical rules, how he argues so forcefully against it. He suggests our fundamental being is dynamic, interconnected, and far from a predictable, self-contained mechanism. He profoundly challenges the very bedrock of classical physics, which tends to view particles as isolated, distinct objects, kind of like little billiard balls bouncing around. Faggin asserts that particles, these tiny building blocks of everything, are just states of a field, temporary ripples, much like a wave on our beloved Dale Hollow Lake. You can't truly separate that wave from the lake it's a part of, can you?
No, you really can't.
And similarly, you can't truly separate a particle from the vast interconnected field it emerges from. This means the common idea of our body being a self-contained machine, independent and isolated, is fundamentally flawed, as we're made of these entangled, deeply interconnected quantum states. Faggin offers a heartfelt critique of classical science, saying it often operates under the restrictive rule, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. He contends this approach has led to reducing life to chemical reactions, and in doing so, causes us to miss the profound, invisible connections, the quantum fields that hold everything together. It's like trying to understand a powerful hymn by just looking at the notes on the page, ignoring the glorious sound, the heartfelt emotion, and the spirit it evokes.
That's a powerful way to put it, friend. Yeah. And then we come to Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, another brilliant mind, a former CERN scientist that's the big physics lab over in Europe. He champions a philosophy he calls analytic idealism. His basic starting point is elegantly simple, yet profoundly radical, maybe echoing the very first lines of Genesis. Everything is inherently mental. Now, this isn't just about the fleeting thoughts swirling in your head. It's about the very fundamental fabric of reality itself. Kastrup's central metaphor to explain this is the dashboard representation.
Yeah.
Imagine, if you will, you're out driving your truck on Highway 111, looking at your dashboard. The dials show you your speed, your fuel, the engine temperature. These are representations of the road, the gas in the tank, the engine's real state. They're not the road itself, are they?
No, of course not. They're indicators.
Exactly. For Kastrup, matter isn't an independent external reality. It's exactly that, a dashboard representation of deeper underlying mental activity. Our senses, he suggests, act like those instruments, reporting data that is processed and delivered into our awareness. The sky, the deeper reality, the true world, exists independently of the dashboard, the matter we perceive even when no one is looking. And this is a key distinction for him. When there are no living beings, no conscious observers to interpret that data, there's no matter in the way we usually conceive it because there's no dashboard to display it. It's a very different way of seeing God's creation.
This truly raises an important question for us, don't it? If our entire perceived reality is merely a dashboard, just a display of something deeper, then what does that imply for objectivity, for our understanding of things existing out there in a fixed, independent way? Kastrup argues that without an observer, matter, as we know it, simply doesn't exist in that form. He extends this profound idea to the brain itself, something we often consider the seat of all thought. Most of us, trained in modern science, we naturally think the brain generates consciousness. But Kastrup, with his analytic idealism, truly flips that script. He says the brain is simply what mental activity looks like when observed from the outside from another perspective. It's an appearance, not a generator, of consciousness. So when someone might take a medicine that affects their mind or suffer a brain injury that changes their mental experience, it's not because the brain produces the mind. Rather, he explains, you're altering the dashboard dial. It changes the reading, it changes the perception, but it doesn't change the underlying sky or the true source of awareness. It's a profound reorientation of how we view the most complex organ in our body, a masterpiece of God's design and its relationship to our innermost spiritual and mental life.
So what does this all mean for us here in Overton County? I mean, if reality isn't just physical stuff, then what about consciousness? Is it simply a byproduct of our brains, destined to fade away like smoke when we pass? Our three experts offer a resounding no, placing consciousness at the very core of existence, a fundamental truth that, well, it resonates deeply with the Spirit of God, doesn't it? Yeah. This is a crucial pivot from much of what we've been taught in modern scientific circles.
Absolutely. All three of these profound thinkers fundamentally redefine consciousness, moving it from an emergent property, something that just pops out of complex brain chemistry, to a foundational aspect of the universe itself. This is a crucial shift in perspective, suggesting that awareness isn't something that randomly pops out of complex biological machinery, but rather something that everything in some form participates in. It really echoes the psalmist's wonder at the intricate design of life, hinting at a divine consciousness woven through all things.
Let's go back to Chris Langan and his CTMU. He has a truly radical idea that consciousness exists in every part of the universe. Now, when you first hear that, you might just scratch your head. Is this sturdy table I'm leaning on right now made from good Tennessee oak? Conscious. Langan says yes in what he terms a generically conscious sense. He's not suggesting the table is having thoughts or feelings like you and me, not at all. Rather, he describes consciousness as operating through what he calls identity operators. These are fundamental quantum-level elements that essentially take input, process it using inherent rules or a syntax, and then return it as external states. Imagine it like a basic universal act of self-referencing, maybe a tiny I am, at the most fundamental level of reality. Our human consciousness, he explains, represents a much more complex and refined level of these very same operators found throughout the entire universe. So it's not just a uniquely human phenomenon, it's universal, a basic building block of existence, a whisper of the divine in every atom.
What's truly fascinating here is this radical notion that awareness isn't limited just to living beings or to humanity, but is woven into the very fabric of everything. Langan's CTMU suggests a fundamental, albeit maybe very basic, form of consciousness is intrinsic to all reality. This implies a universe that is far more alive and responsive, far more infused with something akin to mind or spirit than classical materialism would ever allow. It brings to mind the biblical idea of God's Spirit moving over the waters, present in all creation from the very beginning.
Federico Faggin, with his deep understanding of information, takes this idea even further with what he calls his quantum field theory of consciousness. He states unequivocally that consciousness is not a byproduct of brain chemistry, but is in fact the starting point of reality itself. He sees the brain as acting more like a translator, or perhaps a filter, for a deeper quantum field that already contains awareness. It's not that your brain creates your thoughts and feelings, but rather that it tunes into them. It accesses them from a larger pre-existing field, much like a radio tunes into a song that's already in the airwaves. Now, to truly grasp this, Faggin draws a crucial distinction between classical information and quantum information. Classical information, like the bits in a computer, can be copied perfectly and fully observed. Think of copying a family photograph on your computer. You can make an exact duplicate, can't you?
Right, easily done.
But quantum information, according to the mysterious principles of quantum mechanics, particularly the no-cloning theorem, it cannot be reproduced or fully observed without disturbing it. It's private, unique, and irreducible.
Indeed. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Faggin's profound work suggests that much of what we've built in artificial intelligence and even in neuroscience, while impressive, it might be constructed on a dangerously incomplete understanding of what it truly means to be alive, to truly experience. This is because they miss the foundational, uncopyable nature of true subjective experience and meaning. Faggin powerfully argues that this quantum information behaves exactly like experience, your inner world, your deeply personal feelings, your joys, your sorrows. What you feel right now, your innermost world, can't be downloaded, cloned, or transferred. It's real, it exists, but only within you. Think about it. A machine can generate a brilliant, beautifully constructed sentence, but it doesn't feel the meaning of that sentence, does it?
No, it doesn't have that inner sense.
It can process vast amounts of data, analyze patterns, but it doesn't know that it has come up with a good idea. You, the conscious observer, you recognize the good idea that the AI presents with your own understanding and intuition. This difference, for Faggin, is absolutely critical, as it highlights that true intelligence isn't about mere computation or logic, but about knowing meaning, feeling truth in your spirit, and recognizing beauty things that are intrinsically quantum and deeply experiential. It reminds us of the uniqueness and preciousness of each soul, created in God's image.
And then Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, with his analytic idealism, posits a truly mind-bending concept that, again, speaks to the unity we find in the Lord. There's only one universal mind. He argues that this universal mind undergoes what he calls dissociation to form what appear to be distinct alters, which are, in essence, all living organisms. That means us, the cat curled up on the porch, the tiniest amoeba in a puddle down by the creek, the grand moons in our night sky, the distant black holes, the very stars, the whole shebang, as he puts it. Our individual sense of separation, that feeling of being a distinct me, is, in his view, a useful illusion, a necessary part of the unfolding experience. We are, essentially, localized versions of this one universal mind, all rooted in the same fundamental field. What remains outside these dissociated alters he calls mind at large, representing the broader, encompassing field of awareness, maybe the vastness of God's own consciousness.
This truly raises an important question, doesn't it? If we are all just parts, expressions of one universal mind, then what does that imply for our individuality, for that unique person God made you to be? Kastrup argues our separation is a functional illusion, serving a profound purpose within the larger consciousness, allowing for diverse experiences and perspectives, but it's not a fundamental ultimate truth. It's like fingers on a hand, distinct, yes, but all part of the same body. He reiterates his point about the brain, emphasizing that it's simply what mental activity looks like when observed from the outside from a different perspective. So your mental inner life looks like a brain from the perspective of someone else. The brain, then, doesn't generate your thoughts and feelings. It is the appearance of those thoughts and feelings to an external observer, a physical manifestation of a deeper mental process. It's a humbling thought, makes you consider the profound depths of our own being, really.
All right, let's open up this next chapter. With reality and consciousness getting such a complete overhaul from these brilliant minds, what happens to our understanding of God, the King of all creation? Our thinkers provide a remarkably convergent yet deeply nuanced picture. It's not the traditional distant deity most of us might have grown up thinking about, but something far more integrated, more intimately woven into every strand of existence. A God who is both transcendent and immanent.
Exactly. The concept of God in these profound frameworks emerges not as a separate external deity like a clockmaker who winds the universe up and then steps away, but as an intrinsic, omnipresent force or identity that underpins all existence. This aligns profoundly with a panentheistic view. Now, to be clear for folks listening, panentheism isn't pantheism.
Right, that's an important distinction.
Pantheism suggests God is identical with the universe. The universe is God, and there's nothing beyond it. But panentheism, as our thinkers present it, suggests God encompasses and is greater than the universe. Think of it like a beautiful hymn. The notes and the melody are in the hymn, but the composer and the spirit of the music are also beyond just those notes on the page. God is present in every molecule and every thought, yet infinitely more vast and encompassing than all of creation.
Chris Langan's CTMU is very direct and, well, unyielding about this. He states with absolute conviction that if we're talking about a theory of everything, the first question we have to establish is, does God exist? Yes. For him, it's not just a foundational belief. It's a foundational truth derived from the very structure of reality. He asserts that the identity of reality itself possesses properties such as omniscience, perfect knowledge, omnipotence, unlimited power, and omnipresence, being present everywhere at once, all attributes we traditionally ascribe to our Heavenly Father. God, in Langan's framework, is the conscious, personal, central substance and central principle of reality. And here's where it gets truly personal, friend, where it touches your very soul. Langan claims that you can establish a personal relationship with God because, as the good book tells us, we're images of God. God maps himself into each human being. This means God isn't some distant cosmic clockmaker standing aloof from his creation. God is intimately woven into our very being, a part of our identity, and we can commune with him.
What's truly fascinating here is Langan's profound claim that God's existence is not just a matter of faith, something we hold dear in our hearts, but a logical deduction from the very identity and mathematical structure of reality itself. God isn't just a concept. God is a necessary, foundational component for reality to be coherent. Langan explicitly clarifies his panentheistic stance, explaining that God encompasses and is greater than the universe. He emphasizes, God is not confined to the physical universe. This part of the universe that we see around us cannot exist just by itself. God captures both the display and the processor. It's a reminder that the universe, as vast and grand as it is only a part of God's infinite being, much like a beautiful painting is only a manifestation of the artist's boundless imagination. This sets his view apart from pantheism by emphasizing God's transcendence beyond the mere sum of creation.
Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, coming from his analytic idealism, also aligns with this beautiful panentheistic understanding of God, though perhaps with a slightly different emphasis on what we might consider personality in the human sense. He directly states, I believe that there is a mind that is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, and by the way, it's the only thing that exists, and it's you, and it's me, and it's the cat, and it's the amoeba, and it's the moons, and the black holes, and the stars, the whole shebang. Okay. So for Kastrup, God is universal consciousness, and we, all of us, are simply parts of it. He explains that what we call individuals are not separate minds, but dissociated parts of a single whole. This universal consciousness, he adds, is not necessarily personal in a human sense, meaning it doesn't deliberate or plan like a human might with a distinct ego, but is rather a field of awareness spontaneously unfolding. It's maybe more akin to a vast living tapestry of awareness, in which we are all threads, each unique but part of the whole.
This truly raises an important question for us to ponder. If God is universal consciousness, how does that change our traditional, often anthropomorphic understanding of God seeing him in purely human-like terms? Kastrup's view dissolves the perceived boundary between us and the divine, suggesting we're not just creations of God, but localized expressions of God, experiencing itself through countless forms. It's a powerful echo of the biblical truth that we are made in his image. He explicitly endorses panentheism, noting that what we see is only part of the divine, the rest goes beyond perception. This is because our human senses, wonderful as they are evolved for survival here in this earthly realm, not to perceive the entirety of God's infinite reality. So there's always more to God than what we can observe, measure, or even fully comprehend with our finite minds.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, where the rubber meets the road for us here on Earth. If reality is generated, constantly unfolding, and consciousness is fundamental, does that mean we as individuals still have free will? And what's our true role in this grand unfolding creation? Do we just float along with the current, like a leaf on the creek? Or do we truly make choices that matter? Choices that shape not just our lives, but reality itself.
Indeed, friend. Free will is affirmed by all three of our profound thinkers, but it's reinterpreted, maybe not as an unconstrained ability to have simply done otherwise in a vacuum, but as an active generative participation in a constantly unfolding reality. It's seen as an essential element for reality's very manifestation. It's a subtle but crucial distinction that truly gives profound meaning and purpose to our very existence in God's great plan.
Chris Langan firmly asserts, with no room for doubt, that yes, we do. We have to have free will. He describes reality as actually generative, not a fixed manifold. Now, what he means by fixed manifold is that reality isn't like a finished movie that's already been filmed and we're just passively watching it play out, unable to change a thing. No, he says, it's more like a movie being filmed in real time, right here, right now, and we're an integral part of the production crew, constantly contributing. Everything is being created all the time, not just our states. Our states are being recreated, he explains. He details how our observation and recognition of boundaries, like a baby learning to distinguish a sippy cup from the kitchen table, or us recognizing the distinct boundaries of our property lines here in Overton County, actively participate in this continuous creation. We're not just passive observers of God's creation, we're active shapers, constantly participating in bringing reality into focus, making it concrete through our conscious interaction.
What's truly fascinating here is Langan's robust argument that free will isn't just a spiritual concept, but a necessary component for reality's ongoing creation. He suggests that without our active participation, without our choices, reality couldn't continue to unfold in its dynamic way. We aren't just watching a movie, we're part of the filming crew, continually contributing to what comes into being. Our choices, however small they may seem in our daily lives, are essential acts of co-creation, reflecting our unique position in God's design.
Now, Federico Faggin brings a truly profound quantum mechanics perspective to this idea of free will, focusing on what's known as the mysterious collapse of the wave function. In quantum physics, you see, Tiny particles exist in multiple potential states simultaneously until they're observed, at which point they collapse into a single actual state. This collapse is one of the biggest mysteries in science, a point of deep debate. Faggin suggests something truly radical, something that kind of takes your breath away. What if observation itself, the very act of conscious awareness, is what finalizes reality? He proposes that this collapse happens through us, that our attention and awareness aren't just passively observing reality, they are the very mechanism that turns potential into reality. For Faggin, quantum information is the representation of inner experience, and the collapse of the wave function is the representation of my free will. So your conscious choice, that deep internal decision you make, literally brings possibilities into being from the vast sea of potentials.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Faggin provides a truly profound, almost tangible link between the abstract world of physics and our deeply personal philosophical experience. He suggests our conscious awareness isn't just observing reality, but is actively embedded in the fundamental field of existence, making us active agents in its very manifestation. This is a powerful idea that places our individual consciousness or spirit at the heart of how reality unfolds, giving a whole new dimension to the phrase, "let there be light."
Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, with his analytic idealism, offers a nuanced position on free will that, at first blush, might sound a bit different. He agrees we make choices, but he states that your choice is determined by that which you are, and you can't be other than what you are, and therefore there is no could have been. Now, this might sound like a denial of free will to some of us who believe in absolute choice. But for Kastrup, choices still carry meaning because every choice reveals something. They serve a purpose in showing how consciousness unfolds itself, how the universal mind experiences itself through us. He then introduces a concept that's truly mind-bending, that the universe is computationally irreducible. What that means is there are no shortcuts, no algorithms, no way to perfectly predict what will happen next without actually letting it happen. Even God, he says in this framework, cannot anticipate what we're going to choose, because the only way to know the outcome is to let it play out. It's like watching a divine drama unfold, moment by precious moment.
This truly raises an important question for our understanding of agency. If our choices are, in some sense, determined by that which you are, where then is our free will? Kastrup answers that free will lies not in an ability to have hypothetically chosen differently, but in the profound act of self-revelation. Our choices are essential for the universal consciousness to discover itself, to experience itself through our participation. Each choice we make, even if determined by our deepest nature and character, is a unique and meaningful expression of the unfolding of consciousness, a vital part of the divine narrative being written moment by moment.
So what does all this mean for what happens when we shuffle off this mortal coil, when our earthly pilgrimage is complete? And what about those unseen forces, angels and demons, that the Bible speaks of so clearly? Our experts offer some truly provocative insights that go far beyond traditional understandings, offering a logical framework for what comes next, maybe a deeper understanding of the spiritual realm.
If consciousness is truly fundamental, as these thinkers propose, then persistence after death becomes a logical continuation, not just a matter of faith we hold dear. This leads to unique and compelling perspectives on the afterlife and even the nature of evil itself, grounding these profound spiritual concepts in a coherent extension of their broader theories of reality. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? Reminding us that life's journey doesn't simply end at the grave.
Chris Langan is very clear about our persistence. You will persist after you die. Where you go depends on who Michael Knowles really is. He uses the interviewer's name there, but the point is, it depends on who you truly are. Now for us as folks who believe in salvation through Christ, this resonates deeply. He describes salvation as God pulling you back into himself, a beautiful reunification with the divine source, a homecoming for the soul. But hell, for Langan, isn't necessarily a place of eternal torment inflicted by a vengeful God. It is presented not as a punishment, but as a self-created evil world that results from rejecting this divine connection. And God, in a sense, turning away. If you stubbornly try to create your own reality without the source of all reality, if you choose a path of evil, what kind of world will that be? It will be, by its very nature, an evil world, a self-imposed isolation from the light. It's a natural consequence of one's choices, a profound truth echoed in Scripture. Langan also affirms without hesitation that angels and demons are real spiritual beings. He offers a fascinating explanation for Satan's existence. God's perfect, infinitely defined boundary cannot logically contain imperfection within himself. Thus, to have perfection, there must be a defined antithesis, or opposite for proper definition. Satan, he explains, gains coherence and power not on his own, but through human participation and through structured systems like corporations and governments that can be exploited for purposes contrary to divine order.
What's truly fascinating here is Langan's unique explanation of hell as an internal, self-created consequence, a world born of one's own rejection of God's perfect order, and his insight into how evil, even Satan, relies on human structures and choices to gain coherence and power. This makes the concept of spiritual struggle, of the battle between good and evil, far more relatable to our daily lives and the moral choices we make, from our families to our local governance right here in Overton County. It puts the responsibility squarely on our shoulders to choose the light, doesn't it?
It surely does. Now, Federico Faggin uses a powerful and surprisingly modern analogy to describe death. Imagine you're controlling a drone. If consciousness doesn't come from the body but only uses the body, as he argues, then death isn't the end. It's just a disconnection. Quote, like a drone going dark while the operator remains intact, simply shifting awareness back to its original source. End quote. The pilot, the consciousness, simply returns to its base. He cites countless near-death experiences, or NDEs, as compelling empirical evidence for this profound concept. He mentions accounts of awareness persisting when the brain is not functioning, people reporting seeing their own surgery from above, recounting conversations accurately, all where brains showed no measurable activity, clinically dead, yet still experiencing and remembering. It's a testament to the spirit's enduring nature, just as we believe.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Faggin's technological analogy provides a compelling, almost tangible way to understand the continuation of consciousness beyond the physical body. It moves the idea of persistence after death from a purely spiritual belief to a logical outcome of his quantum model, powerfully supported by these empirical accounts. It gives a modern scientific basis for something many people have experienced but found inexplicable, harmonizing science and faith in a beautiful way.
Dr. Bernardo Kastrup offers a truly profound perspective on what happens after death by first challenging our very understanding of time and space, concepts we usually take for granted as fixed realities. He argues that time and space exist only in here. We create time and space as a sort of a filing system for information about the world. They're not fundamental external realities, but emergent properties of consciousness, much like the categories you create in your own mind to organize your thoughts or memories. Reality itself, he says, is a crystal of eternity, a complex, interconnected network of relationships that exists outside of time and space, a timeless, infinite whole. So if time isn't fundamental, then beginnings and endings aren't either. Death, for Kastrup, is therefore a transition in appearance, not in essence, like shadows projected into time from that larger structure. It's a change in perspective, a shift in perception, rather than an annihilation of who you truly are. Given that individual minds are ultimately dissociated parts of a universal consciousness, Kastrup also suggests that the boundaries between these alters, these seemingly separate minds, are not always perfectly rigid. This, he says, could make phenomena like telepathy plausible under extraordinary circumstances, like moments of strong emotion or trauma, when the illusions of separation might momentarily thin.
This truly raises an important question for us to ponder. If time and space are indeed internal constructs, how does that fundamentally reshape our understanding of mortality and our limited time here on Earth? Kastrup suggests death is more of a change in perspective, a glorious transition, than an annihilation, as our true essence remains within that eternal structure of consciousness. It means our existence is not bound by the linearity we perceive in our daily lives, pointing to a timeless spiritual reality beyond our current grasp. It reminds us that God is outside of time, and in Him there is no beginning or end.
All right, let's open up this final chapter, friends, and unpack the big takeaways from all these profound ideas. These aren't just abstract theories for philosophers to chew on. They fundamentally challenge the very foundations of how modern science understands reality and what it truly means to be alive, to be a child of God. They're asking us to reconsider the very nature of existence itself, to see the world with new spirit-filled eyes.
All three of these perspectives, in their own unique ways, they converge on a radical paradigm shift, moving away from a reductionist materialism, which tries to explain everything by breaking it down into its smallest physical parts, towards a consciousness-first understanding of reality. This has profound implications for how we seek meaning in our lives and how we structure knowledge about God's creation. It truly forces us to acknowledge that our current scientific framework, while powerful, might be inherently limited, like trying to comprehend the glory of a thunderstorm by only studying a single raindrop.
Federico Faggin, with his unparalleled background in creating the very microprocessors that drive our world, offers a truly piercing critique of classical science. He argues that classical science, operating under the strict rule, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist, describes only the visible half of reality, missing the invisible quantum fields that truly hold everything together. He says this approach inevitably leads to reducing life to chemical reactions, and that much of what we've built, from artificial intelligence to neuroscience, has been built on a dangerously incomplete understanding of what it means to be alive. He's saying, plain as day, that we've been trying to explain the universe with half the puzzle pieces missing, leaving out the spiritual conscious heart of it all. Dr. Bernardo Kastrup challenges the very way we even ask questions. Instead of how does the brain generate consciousness, he proposes we rephrase it as how does consciousness or mind generate the brain? For him, the brain is simply what mental activity looks like when observed from the outside, a manifestation, not the source.
What's truly fascinating here is the consistent argument from these diverse minds that our current scientific toolkit, as marvelous as it is fundamentally insufficient to grasp reality's full scope. It's like trying to describe the intricate beauty of a gospel choir and the spirit it evokes using only 2 notes. It simplifies reality to the point of incoherence, missing its richness, its depth, and its very soul. It compels us to seek a broader understanding, one that embraces both the seen and the unseen.
Faggin also dives deep into the very nature of meaning itself, a topic close to our hearts as we seek purpose in God's plan. He explains that classical information, like bits in a computer, lacks inherent meaning. A 1 or 0 has no meaning on its own. Meaning, Faggin asserts, is generated from the inside, through quantum information and conscious experience. Meaning is within us, is within the field, is not in the information. This has truly profound implications, especially for the capabilities of artificial intelligence. No machine, regardless of its processing power, can truly replicate the subjective experience of meaning. A machine might generate a brilliant, insightful sentence, but as Faggin says, it doesn't feel the meaning of that sentence. AI doesn't know that it's a good idea. You recognize the good idea of AI with your understanding, your intuition, your spirit. True intelligence, then, isn't about mere computation or logic. It's about knowing meaning, feeling truth, recognizing beauty, things that are intrinsically tied to our inner, conscious, and spiritual experience.
This truly raises an important question, doesn't it? If meaning is an internal, deeply quantum and experiential phenomenon, what does that imply for a relentless quest to understand reality through purely external, measurable data? It suggests that the most vital aspects of existence, the very essence of life and purpose, might always elude our current scientific instruments and algorithms. It pushes us, dear friends, to explore inward, to listen to that still small voice, to seek truth within our own hearts and spirits where true meaning resides.
And finally, these profound thinkers emphasize a holistic view of reality and the observer's critical, active role in it. Faggin stresses that reality is holistic. It's not built from separate, isolated parts. It's made of relationships, fields, and interactions. He highlights that in quantum mechanics, you can't fully describe a particle without including the system that observes it. It's all connected. It's like you can't truly separate the worshiper from the worship, or the farmer from the fertile ground he tends. Dr. Kastrup similarly explains how appearances, like the matter we perceive, arise from the boundary, the interaction between the observer and the observed. Without this division, this unique perspective, there's only unity, only the vastness of the universal consciousness.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound implication is that our perceived divisions between mind and matter, between self and other, even between humanity and the divine, are not fundamental truths. This calls for a radical reevaluation of how we approach all knowledge, from the grandest scientific theories to our daily interactions with our neighbors. It fosters a deeper sense of interconnectedness, reminding us that we are all part of God's great tapestry. It shifts us from being passive observers, merely watching God's creation, to active participants, shaping reality itself through our conscious presence and our choices.
Well now, friends, we've taken a truly remarkable deep dive today into some paradigm-shifting ideas. From Langan's universe as a self-aware computational system, to Faggin's foundational quantum consciousness, to Kastrup's world as a mental dashboard, the common thread is clear. Reality is far stranger, far more conscious, and far more interconnected than we commonly imagine. A testament, really, to the infinite wisdom and artistry of our Creator.
The profound aha moment here, the one that should truly resonate in your spirit, is the consistent message that consciousness isn't a fluke of biology, something that just happened to us, but the very fabric from which reality emerges, the very essence of God's design. This isn't just abstract theory, it has profound implications for how you understand yourself, your God-given agency, and your truly unique and precious place in the universe. It suggests a grander, more intelligent, and more loving design to everything.
Here's something to ponder and mull over as you go about your day. Whether you're down at the courthouse in Livingston, or maybe out on a quiet fishing boat on Center Hill Lake. If your conscious attention, that unique gift from the Lord, is truly capable of collapsing quantum potentials into reality, then what potential, what blessing, what good are you choosing to manifest right now, just by where you place your awareness and your heart? We truly hope this deep dive left you with new questions, new perspectives, and maybe even a deeper sense of your own divine purpose. If it did, we'd be mighty grateful if you'd hit that like button, leave us a comment with your biggest aha moment or your burning questions. We love hearing from y'all. And please subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the fascinating unknowns and the wondrous truths of our world. Your engagement helps us keep these conversations going and reach more curious, seeking hearts.
And as you continue your journey of discovery, beloved friends, remember that knowledge truly is a profound gift, a light on our path. And embracing multiple perspectives, from science to scripture, only enriches our understanding of everything God has created. May His grace and peace be with you all, wherever you may be listening, and may your hearts be filled with wonder at the mysteries of His boundless creation. Amen.